We're back, people. What's up? How y'all doing? Streaming Miami Dolphins going over the Edge group today. Gone through a lot of the other groups now, getting towards the end. Training camp is almost here. I think, in a little over a week, we'll see, training camp come through, which is, thank God, give me something football related. Need it bad. Need football season here. Real bad, just all around. But talking about the Edge group, definitely, I think, health is obviously very important with every group. I think health is kind of key with this one because we already have two of the top players at the position, coming off major injuries. But just looking at the group as a whole, talent-wise, probably the best on the roster from top to bottom, like with a mix of like veteran and young talent. Like really like what we got here at the edge position. Not really any like crazy battles going on. I feel like everyone's kind of probably already into their role. Some people could fight for more playing times, things like that. But yeah, definitely an interesting, group to look at. There's probably like one guy we could talk about that could sneak onto the squad. I think, kind of what they want to do with Bradley Chubb. Like, I think Bradley Chubb probably starts the year on some sort of injury list. But then do they keep just 4 at the edge position? Because usually you're keeping about 5, but do they keep 4 and then maybe keep a body somewhere else potentially? Or do they decide like, hey, behind that, do we keep like a Grayson Murphy as a UDFA or a Cameron Good who's made the roster and, in the past? I think that would be pretty interesting as players around, but definitely an intriguing group. Hold on, let me see this. Okay, yeah. Trying to find this group real quick. Let's let people roll in here. Get here in a little bit. But yeah, I don't know if anyone's in here. Let me just make sure I'm live. I'm pretty sure I am. Oh, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, we're live. We have one comment, but I'm pretty sure it's from Derek, but he said first, but I think I saw that comment like a long time ago because I made it go live. And I ended up going live a little bit earlier than I was planning to, just something, things coming up. But yeah. Really looking forward to the season starting. Also, I just posted a Chris Brooks video yesterday, running back breakdown. I'm going to continue doing breakdowns on guys. That's what the channel's all about. If you haven't seen that, go check that out at some point. Let me see. We got this. This. No, that's not what I wanted to pick up. That is nuts. We in here, brother. What's up, Martin? How you doing? But yeah, okay. So let's start talking about the edge position. Okay. I guess we could talk about Bradley Chubb a little bit first, because, he's, one of the better players at the position on the team, but I don't expect him to really make an impact early on in this season. Out of the injuries, I think Phillips, his ones happened earlier. It seems like he's farther ahead of schedule by like a decent amount. Chubb is the one that's like the biggest question mark. Now, I will say, Chubb was playing pretty damn good last season. I actually think he's been better than, some people have given credit for, maybe fan-wise. Definitely getting pressures after the quarterback. Very smart, nuanced player with his approach to the game. He's not like the most explosive, most powerful, like physical freak guy at the edge position, but he definitely gets the job done, knows what he's doing. And I expect him to sort of make his impact in the second half of the year. Good thing the Dolphins have a lot of bodies at that position that I kind of feel comfortable with. And, we really need Jaelan Phillips healthy because Phillips was kind of that guy for the Dolphins. And I think he's that guy you're trying to, build around him, and you drafted Chubb Robinson. And I think Chubb probably would be, I think, out of the big names on the roster, one of the guys that we could see like gone earlier, like just, down the line, whether it's next year or the year after that, just because, looking at the cap and looking at the future. But yeah, still expect to see, some solid things out of him. I think, they have more bodies in this room that are like talent wise now behind Phillips and Chubb. Last year was Phillips, Chubb, and Van Ginkel, and that was really it that you could expect out of the edges. But Now you have Shaq Barrett taking on that Van Ginkel role, and then you drafted Chubb Robinson and Muhammad Kamara. You're probably going to get some stuff out of them, which is definitely helpful too. And it adds versatility, be more of a rotation. So it's a good thing. So when he does come back, he doesn't have to play like a full-time role. But I do think, Chubb's still a very solid, good player in this league. Wouldn't say he's like an elite edge player. He's not like a top-tier run defender. He's solid versus the run. I would say pretty damn good pass rusher, especially when he needs to get going. And then, him and Phillips definitely like a dangerous duo. But Phillips is like a player I really want to talk about because I think Jaelan Phillips is really, really good. I think he's someone that I think goes underappreciated just around the league. Like, what's up, Ryan? How you doing? Like, Phillips has been so good for so long. I have said this a little bit now, but I think Phillips was the best player on the Miami Dolphins defense last year. But yeah, hold on, let me pull this up. Wait, is this the right button? Hopefully you guys can see this. Okay, yeah. Here we go, Phillips off the edge. This is actually from 2 seasons ago, but just something clips I found on Twitter just to show you guys real quick. But he's been causing chaos and disruption. I thought he was the most impactful player on the Dolphins defense last year. And when he went down, that hurt them so much. Phillips, just an instinctive player, really gets after it. Also has like one of the best motors you'll ever see. Like, man, this guy flies around the field. I did a breakdown on him not too long ago if people wanted to see that, but like, love watching him go to work. Consistent pressure, high motor, chases people around the field. Super amazing athlete too to combine it. And he's also got like just physical freak with length and stuff. To me, he was very close last year to like reaching that like that peak of like almost like where the elite edge rushers were. Like, I feel like he was like, there's the elite top tier guys and like a tier by themselves, the Myles Garrett's, the TJ Watts. I think Phillips was like working his way up there. I would put him like a tier behind those guys still, but I think, he deserves some more recognition with some of the top guys in this league. Because I think hopefully, we might not see it this year, which is unfortunate. Because, we might not see it right away, at least because of the injuries, but yeah, I definitely looked forward to it. Inside the NFL did a content creator panel where they voted on content creator this year, not inside and film breakdown. Just viewpoint is awesome. Hey, thanks, Philip. I appreciate that. But yeah, big fan of, your top 2 edge guys are going to be our Chubb and Phillips, but they probably won't be your top 2 edge guys to start the season. Phillips could be ready for the start of the season. I wouldn't be surprised maybe if he misses a couple games. He wouldn't start on like an injury list. That's why the edge room is kind of interesting because these guys could start on injury lists, and you could see bodies and players towards the back end of the edge roster potentially make the team early on and have a chance to prove themselves. And we're also going to see some of the young guys they drafted, like Chubb Robinson, Kamar, get like some early playing time, which is nice too, which we'll get to see what they have right away. But yeah. Ryder was with the film room could put a whole portfolio together as a scout if you wanted. That's the goal, man. That would be the goal to get there as a scout. But I mean, I have done some things with scouting, but haven't got with like a team yet, unfortunately. But we'll get there eventually. Appreciate you guys watching though. You guys have any questions about the edge room so far? Obviously, we only really talked about Bradley Chubb and Jaelan Phillips, which I feel like those are the guys people know the most about, which makes sense. They were top guys the past couple of seasons. Phillips, bright future ahead of him. He's still very young as a player too. Hopefully, I'm hoping, and the Dolphins give him the 5th-year option too, which is nice. I'm hoping we see a Phillips extension. I know it's kind of risky to do with him coming off the Achilles, which obviously always got to say this, fuck MetLife Stadium. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't finish my thought. You should have made it on the panel, in my opinion, over a few others. Yeah, I know what panel you're talking about. I mean, a lot of those guys have been around doing this a lot longer. So but I don't disagree with you. Just a couple of those guys, because there's some people, like, there's a lot of good content creators in the Dolphin space, and I watch a decent amount of them. Respect to a lot of them, but then there's some that like I feel like they don't actually. They're just like creating drama and stuff like that. I'm like, I just don't get the appeal of it. But those people are, it's just a few of the bad eggs out there. This edge room reminds me of the 07 Giants, quality edge rushers. That's a good shout. I'd have to look at the whole Giants edge room, but I know, the guys that you're talking about with like, Strahan and Umanura. But yeah. Let's see. Who else are we going to? Let's talk about Chop. Love Chop. Chop's one of the most exciting players to watch. Here we got Chop, explosive off the edge. Dolphins first round pick. Doesn't surprise me that this is the direction the Dolphins went. Even though, if you look at the edge room, and they took 2 edges, you might be like, maybe, but with the injuries, Chop's, the edge rusher's a premium position. Chop is a very good scheme fit. If you look at Baltimore, they've taken like explosive edge rushers like this in the first round in the past. Chop's going to make an impact aligning, I think, all over the field, especially early on. I've talked about him lining up, in third down situations, obvious pass rush situations, even as like in the interior, getting after the QB, working on those twist and stunts. He does a lot of those things very well. Very much, let me see. I think I have an example of it here. Yeah. Pull this up. Chop lining up head up over the center, obvious pass rush situation. You get to see him just explode up the field, and he just like bullies the center, gets after it with explosiveness. I've seen him win multiple ways here, which I think is key. Being able to win in multiple different ways, because sometimes, players with Chop's kind of size, like he has limited length, and, he's like known for his speed. They can get caught just kind of, with a limited ability to win, like only winning in one way. But Chop showed a lot of different ways to win, whether he's like trying to cross your face with his quickness, overpower you at the point of attack from the interior. He can, winner off the edge. He can use some speed to power, which is nice too. I still think he needs to add more to his bag. Like, he is still a little bit raw. I did expect, from what I knew about Chop before I watched this film, I was expecting him to be a little more raw. Like, he has a few pass rush moves. Typically, he does like a 2-hand swipe. He has a speed to power. And then he has like your quickness that he'll win with, obviously, around the edge or knifing to the inside. And he does it from multiple different spots, which I think helps him out too. But I do think, he was less raw than I expected, but he still needs to work on a few things. But his athleticism is so good that he'll still be able to make an impact right away. It's actually insane. Justin Tucker. Oh yeah, Tucker's the kicker. It's Justin Tuck is the Giants defensive lineman. But yeah, I know what you're saying, Martin. I think is Shaq Barrett. Yep, we're gonna talk about Shaq in a second. That's why I like the group, because you look at the group, you have Chubb, who's like a veteran presence. You have Shaq Barrett, who's like the real veteran presence. You're bringing him on like a 1-year deal, but still gets after it. You have Phillips, who's like your rising star, still pretty young, but now is put in the league for a few years, so that like he has his experience, but like he could take that next step. And then you have like the young guys with Chop Robinson, who's super young. You bring in Kamar as a rookie, who's like an older rookie, but still, guys who can get after it. Grayson Murphy, a UDFA that I think is my favorite UDFA. I'm not saying he'll make the team, but he's another intriguing guy to look at. Definitely like tons of talent from top to bottom with various different experiences. And yeah, we'll talk about Shaq Barrett in a second after I finish up talking about Chop. But Chop, going to be an exciting player to watch. Probably will play some significant snaps all season long. He'll play right away due to the injuries that they have across the edge position. And then I think even when those guys come back, like he'll still see like significant pass rushing snaps, which is fun. Is there a formation you think you could see Chubb, Sealer, Campbell, Phillips across D-line? Oh yeah, for sure. That would probably be like I think when the Dolphins are fully healthy, that probably might be like the most like the combination of D linemen you see the most, with Chubb and Phillips as your stand-up edge rushers, Sealer and Campbell, playing in the interior. Plus, also, I wouldn't be surprised if they even move those guys around a little bit, create some mismatches, because I've seen it where they have Campbell lining up on the edge, as like a big edge. I've seen Dolphins move Phillips on the interior. And that's something that I think Weaver is going to really like to do with his guys, is move these guys around, being versatile. Having your ability to play multiple different fronts is very important within that Baltimore defense. And I think Weaver's going to try to bring that over. And they have guys to do that across the line. I think Chop is also going to be a big part of that, those different packages. But yeah, um, my comp for Chop is Dwight Freeney, Brian Burns as well as a good comp. Yeah, those are some solid comps. Yeah, Chop's a weird player too. I've also seen like the people like a Cameron Wake comp, obviously, coming from the Dolphins, and it's not a bad comp comparing them, especially when Cam Wake came out of college. Because if you watch Cam Wake, because he also played at Penn State, and he was just like a super raw freak athlete coming out of Penn State. And then when he went to the CFL, like he kind of, refined his game. I think Chop was a little more refined, but like they kind of win in similar ways. Cameron Wake was the king of winning with his first step explosiveness and then ripping underneath. And they're both kind of undersized, but yeah, those are some fun comps. Also, people have compared him to like Micah Parsons. Don't know if I can understand that one a little bit. I can see it play style wise, but Chop still has to, play to his level, play up to that level, which would be fun. It's his get off that makes a difference. Haven't seen it get off like Chop since Dwight Freeney. Yeah, the get off is like what I'm talking about. Like that was like Cam Wake's biggest thing too. That get off, like a first step. It's always fun. I love to watch like the film and just like kind of slow it down or like, either like pause it right after the snap happens or play it like in, slow speed. And you can just see how much faster Chop gets off than his teammates. And like Penn State has some other good players that were rushing the passer, like some guys who will come out next year who are going to be like draft eligible and be like pretty high picks. And Chop is like insanely explosive. Once Chop unlocks a nuance of finishing at the QB's throwing arm, it's a wrap. Yeah, that's another thing I would say he needs to work on is his finishing. But like, I think that's obviously important. But he has like, to me, like being able to just be disruptive is even like more important. He has the initial part of it down. But yeah, definitely needs to keep adding to it. Let's see. Oh yeah, Shaq Barrett. Okay, Shaq Barrett. Spent been in Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Dolphins added him as a free agent, 1-year deal, which makes sense. With the injuries, and he'll probably be a 1-year guy. Like, I mean, I guess you could see them re-sign him for a cheaper deal next year. And he actually a very similar like player. Like I saw a lot of like we'll talk about Muhammad Kamar after him, and Mo I think is actually like a good comp for Shaq Barrett. And if you watch Barrett's film, he's an older player, but he's still very disruptive getting after the quarterback. I think he's going to take on like that Andrew Van Ginkel role that we saw last year that, the Dolphins had as their third edge. I think he'll be that like third edge, heavy rotation, playing a big role all season long. One thing I noticed, he was very good at winning when he was like with his like inside counters and working on like some twists and stunts too. So like having like your inside counter where you're like really good at crossing the face of tackles also plays in on like those twist and stunt game, which I've talked about is going to be huge in this new system. You're going to see a lot of pressure that's manufactured by the play calls instead of just purely winning your one-on-ones. You obviously have to win your one-on-ones too, but also being like to help out your teammates, knife to the inside, take out an offensive lineman so your guy can loop around. Barrett could do those things. Definitely a veteran presence, but like I was still impressed like for him being up there in age. Like he used to be really good. Like a few years ago, he was like dominating. But I was impressed like watching his film this past year. Still like how good he is getting after the quarterback. So the more good edge defenders you can have, the better. I like having some veteran presence there, and I think it's good for Kamara because they have very similar skill sets. Like if you look at like their size, weight, a lot of their numbers actually match up pretty well, which is interesting. I think we line up Chop over the center a lot. Yeah, I like the idea of lining Chop up all over the line, like in those pass rush situations. Like obviously, if it's like a first, second down, like obvious run situation, he's probably gonna be just lined up on the edge because you don't want him on the interior getting bullied. But oh my god, if it's obvious pass rushing, like let Chop go to work. Whether he needs to win his one-on-ones versus a center or a guard with his athleticism, or he's that first step explosiveness really take a lot of the focus of the O-line, and then you can work some other guys off of that, get them some one-on-ones, the stunt game. Lots of things that they can do with Chop in that way. That's why I'm like, I honestly, if Chop is making a difference like that, I don't even care if he's not getting sacks because I think he's gonna like be a big boost to defense, whether his numbers, his totals are that good or not. But yeah. Oh yeah, but finishing up, Shaq, nice veteran presence, solid player still. Um, can't ever have too many good edges, and I think I wouldn't be surprised. If I had to guess, I think Shaq Barrett will probably be the Dolphins' most productive edge for the first like half of the season. While Phillips and Chubb are still working back from injuries, you'll have your rookies that are still making an impact, but sometimes it takes a little bit to adjust. So I'm expecting Barrett actually to be like one of the more productive players for the Dolphins at that position early on. And then and then maybe the rookies start getting into it, the edges or Phillips coming back. But yeah, like the Barrett pickup definitely helps it out. Then we'll talk about Kamar, the Dolphins' 5th round pick, who I expect to be 4th, 5th round pick to have a pretty big impact early on. Let me see. Let me roll this back. Boom. Here we got Barrett off the edge. Another productive edge rusher, high motor. I mean, I love this guy's intensity that he plays with. He is a very fun player. Definitely another guy like similar size to Barrett, being a little undersized, but just plays like his hair is on fire. He's got another like good first step. Like he's not as athletic as Chop, but he's still a pretty athletic player. He's an instinctive player, which is nice to see. I think one of the better value picks in the draft, same with Malik Washington. Like I think him in the 5th and Malik in the 6th were some of the better value picks in that draft. Like he knows how to use his hands, get after the quarterback. Like he dominated that. Like this Colorado game, like he was dominating these poor tackles. Good job just like setting this guy up, mixing up his footwork, attacking, this outer half, hitting with like this hump move, getting underneath, or like about to set up the hump move. The guy like holds him, pulls him to the ground. He still gets after it, sacks Sanders, but like good hand placement, those types of things. Big fan of the Kamara draft pick, and wouldn't surprise me if like he actually sees, because he's an older rookie, and like it wouldn't surprise me like with his mindset and his like decent amount of experience for a rookie playing in college, if he saw like an early playing time with the injuries and actually had like some decent success early on for the Dolphins while Phillips and Chubb are recovering. And usually you don't expect that out of like 5th round rookies. But I would if I put money on a rookie after Chop to make like an impact early, it'd probably be Kamara. And then after that, I go into and then later on in the season, I'm expecting to see impacts from like guys like Malik Washington. Maybe not like instantly, but I think Kamara out of those later round guys probably has the best chance to make an instant impact, which would be interesting. Chubb, Sealer, Campbell, Phillips, and slide Chop over center. Yeah, and I think big thing with like putting Chop over center, like even Kamara has some film of him lining up like in the interior. I think one of the good thing about having guys like Phillips, Chop, even Chubb last year sometimes, like they all lined up like in their careers, whether it's college or NFL, they all have experience lining up on the interior. And then you have to like when you do that, you also have to have some guys on the interior like Sealer and Campbell that can line up like as a big edge on those snaps too. Like if they're on the field, you got to like mix it up. And Sealer and Campbell both have experience doing that and even winning some reps. So like it's a nice give and take there that these guys can, complement each other like that. That if they are going to line up in a slightly different spot than usual, they can both still make impactful plays and just cause mismatches. It's going to be very interesting to watch. It'll probably be one of the things I keep a close eye on every week in like film review. Yeah. I expect to see a lot of edge pressure out of this. I think out of the edge room, the guys are very good at getting pressure. Chubb and Phillips, since they've been on the Dolphins at least, have been like very high on edge pressure rate lists. Chop Robinson created a ton of pressure last year. He's definitely known for his pass rush edge or pressure rate skills. Same with Kamara. Barrett also high on the edge pressure rate list. Like they're all great rushers. Now I don't know if any of them we don't have any really elite run defenders at the edge position, which I rather have them be great pass rushers because that's where you make more of an impact on the game. But none of them are like just like completely terrible. So like as long as they're making the impact in the the passing game. That's definitely helpful. Even Grayson Murphy, the UFA, I'm pretty sure Grayson Murphy led like college last year in pressures totals. And he's the guy like, so you have to think about like who's going to make the roster. Usually you keep at like the outside linebacker edge position, you keep about 5 bodies about. And I would say, you look at it would be pretty obvious the 5 guys I talked about, Chubb, Phillips, Chop, Barrett, and Kamara. That's probably who makes it. But with the injuries, you're probably going to see Chubb start on an injury list. Phillips, I think, probably stays on the roster, but does he play right away? Now, do you see them just keeping 4 and then giving like an extra body somewhere else on offense, maybe? Or do they keep like a 5th guy like a Grayson Murphy as a UDFA? They also have guys like, let's see who else is on the roster. Obviously, Cameron Good. They have Ezekiel Vandenberg, listen here, Quentin Bell. Guys that I think are more practice squad material. Like all of them could be practice squad guys like Cameron Good, Quentin Bell, Vandenberg, I'm pretty sure was on an injury list all last season. Grayson Murphy's your UDFA. I would also be down if you could keep him on the practice squad, keep him around because I'm very intrigued by his skill set. He's another guy with a versatility to line up all over the field. Like that guy has done it all. Number 12 right here, lined up over the tackle. He's very good hand use. Like there's the Murphy twins, Gabriel and Grayson, and they just created so much chaos. The UCLA edges were so good last year. Lot 2 with the Murphys, and like they are really good at using their hands. Like look at that hop right there. That skip, chop down, constant pressure across the line. He does it from all these different alignments. Very quick too. Definitely going to be intrigued to see his impact in the preseason. He's probably the UDFA I'm looking most forward to watch in the preseason because if he has a good preseason, you could see them end up keeping a guy like him. But it wouldn't surprise me if they only end up just keeping 4 initially with Chubb on the injury list just to keep like an extra body possibly on offense because the Dolphins roster is going to be very interesting. The last I would say 3 or 4 spots. It's going to be very interesting to see who those end up going to because I think there's a lot of guys they want to keep like. This is probably one of the most talented rosters the Dolphins have had from top to bottom. He just constantly gets after it with his hand usage. A very intriguing player. But let's see. Go Dolphins, go Dolphins. Always. But yeah, that is. Let me check. Okay. Those are obviously the main edges I wanted to talk about. Chubb and Phillips injuries, but still expect to see an impact from them at some point in the season. I don't need them with your edge room. You don't need Chubb and Phillips to be the same as they were last year, right away. You can kind of ease them back into it. You have guys there like Shaq Barrett who have, oh shoot. Okay, there we go. Yeah, with the veteran, he's gonna get in there right away. You drafted an edge in the first round. Chop's going to have to, be an impactful player instantly. I feel pretty good about Kamar as a 5th round rookie that can make an impact. But if you do start with your, Chubb, say on an injury list, Phillips maybe not being 100% right away, so you're limiting his action. I wonder how comfortable they're going to be playing with Shaq Barrett, Chubb Robinson, Muhammad Kamara, because, those are 2 rookies as in your main rotation. Instantly, Shaq Barrett, veteran presence. They're all pretty undersized edges as well. Not a lot of big off the top. So the edge room will be interesting early on, but I think once it's completely healthy, it's probably the strongest group on the roster. Is Calais really not that big of a drop off from Wilkins? I think it's a drop. It's definitely a drop off. I feel like some people have been kind of disrespecting Wilkins lately, saying, that Campbell's going to come in right away. To me, it's just a group of people that are going to have to replace Wilkins. I think Campbell is still pretty good. The hardest thing about replacing Wilkins is just how many snaps he played, man. He is so involved in those. I think he was the number 1 snap leader at the defensive tackle position. To me, the person replacing Wilkins is actually Sealer. He's going to have to be that main guy. But Campbell is still pretty solid. Tartt's solid. Yeah, Wilkins, very good player. It's definitely a drop off, but you're kind of replacing him with a bunch of bodies, and then hopefully people can be a little more fresh and get after the quarterback and stuff like that. But yeah, any questions about anyone else because, like, there's still some other, like, Quentin Bell was a practice squad guy last year that, he was like, he did the Max Crosby stuff. I expect him to be like a practice squad guy again. Cameron Good, I think, is the other name that could potentially make the roster, like with him or Grayson Murphy, is like if they're going to, keep a fifth guy with Chubb being on an injury list. I think they would be fighting for a spot, or neither of them make it. But I feel like both would. At least I think Good would be available to make the practice squad. He's made it in the past, and they've elevated him. But he's also coming off an injury, I believe, because he definitely missed at the end of last season with a major injury, I'm pretty sure. I forget what it was exactly, but some intriguing names here across the board. But when it's fully healthy, I would think, yeah, so I think it's definitely one of the better groups when fully healthy. But yeah, anything to say, guys? Any kind of final words? I'm probably gonna. Is Deshaun Hand good? Good. I think after Sealert, Tardent, Campbell, I don't know if I would describe any of the defensive tackles as like good. Like, I'm not saying they're bad, but I'm not saying they're like good NFL players. I think some of them are solid or like around average, which is all you really need for later players. And I think Hand could make the roster. Like, he is a serviceable depth player. That's kind of how I would describe him. Oh man, I mean, I'm expecting big things out of Tercavius Jones III, man. That guy's gonna be a star of the future. But yeah, unless there's any final questions, probably gonna end the stream a little early today. But yeah, I got people. I gotta go somewhere real quick. Yeah, the defensive tackle situation will be interesting. I did a video on the defensive tackle group as a whole. I did a stream on them. Be interesting to see if they keep 5 or 6 bodies there as well, and who they end up keeping, because obviously the top 3 is pretty secure. But it's probably the position where it's like a lot, like 5 guys could win roles after that. Yeah. Okay. Fun stream. Little quick one. Check out the Chris Brooks breakdown if you haven't. I'll have, more breakdowns, more streams next week. I think next week before training camp, I'm going to have like a video and then a stream, a video and then a stream like every other day. So that should be happening, I think, starting from like Tuesday or something. Peace. Peace, Martin. Okay, later, guys. Leave any comments. Oh yeah, leave comments. Any other videos you want to see, other types of streams. I'm going to keep doing these, position breakdowns before training camp. But once training camp rolls around,